Right. Thank you. Welcome to the regular open meeting of council, March 24th in council chambers. Just a note, the mayor's out of town on a 2-day workshop for people that might be online watching. Any add or additions to the agenda? No? Okay. Can we approve the agenda? Bennett and Chung? Adoption of the minutes of March 10th? Puerto Rican Myers? New business, staff report, departmental report to council report from Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Councillor King. Today's report proposes to change the frequency of departmental reporting to council. Council is currently receiving information regarding departmental activities through various channels, quarterly reports, updates from the CAO at each council meeting, quarterly strategic priority updates, and the municipal annual report. Preparing, I should say, of each of these reports involves significant staff time. The quarterly reports, for instance, require about 90 hours of staff time to prepare each quarterly report. And that does not include all the daily time jotting down the information that needs to be reported. Given the time required to prepare the reports and the redundancy in the reporting, it's recommended that the quarterly reporting transition to a semi-annual reporting schedule covering the periods of April 1st to September 30th and October 1st to March 31st. Adopting the semi-annual reporting schedule would provide several benefits, including a more complete financial information following year end, clearer identification of long-term trends and outcomes as opposed to reporting on capital projects when they're in progress. And of course, it would help to ease the workload for the staff, many of whom are working beyond capacity. As the data sets currently presented to council have not been reviewed for some time, the transition to semi-annual reporting would give staff an opportunity to review what's being reported and move towards providing more relevant data that supports council decisions. An example of that would be, say, for instance, instead of just reporting how many dogs we found running in the streets, talk about the effectiveness of the bylaw enforcement on that. How were cases resolved? Was it compliance was just gained with the owner of the dog? Was there a need for a fine? Was this a repeat offense? And we feel like that would be more meaningful kinds of reporting to give to council. And finally, we would like to provide the information in dashboard type visual formats such as charts and graphs rather than large tables and narratives so that it's easier to read. So the recommendation for council today is to direct staff to implement a semi-annual departmental reporting schedule and that staff update the format and content of the departmental reports for ease of interpretation and relevance to council decision making.
Question?
So moved.
Moved, seconded. I have a question first. Down the road, if council choose, could they go back to quarterly if they chose down the road?
Of course.
Because it's been brought to my attention, if the staff aren't kind of keeping it up on a weekly basis, they kind of make a report and from 5 months ago, it's a lot different than just 2 months ago.
Well, we do collect the information on a daily or weekly basis. It's being collected the whole time. We don't start collecting it at the reporting time. It's being collected on a daily basis.
Mr. Chung?
Thank you. Is there a way to still have that data in its raw or almost current presentation available? I mean, in terms of the motion and the part which is a little concerning is more so the relevance to council decision making, right? It's it should be under council's perusal what is relevant and what may not be relevant. And if we don't include all the data, then we don't have the full context. And I'm not saying like each report, the semi-annual report should have everything, but as long as it's accessible, I think it also, and in terms of transparency, it helps with the public. If there are some individuals who are more curious about some of the minutia, then it's easily accessible. And perhaps our communications officer could even just post the random statistic here and there, just as like a fun fact. And then if the public would like to know, hey, like how many dogs at large, then it's like, well, next week we'll post that, and just little tidbits, which make it a bit more digestible.
For sure. Thank you, Councillor. That's great feedback. What I was thinking in the report is the reporting of things that council clearly already knows, like how many minutes you've spent in a meeting, how many bylaws were amended, that sort of thing. Those kinds of reports to me don't seem very helpful or relevant, and that's what I meant by that. One of the things that we did want to add to all of the reports, especially as we start to transition, is there something that you feel is missing here? Is there something that you're interested in that we're not collecting? And so it might be a little bit of a period of learning as we transition in this direction. And of course, I never meant to propose that we know better than council what's of interest and relevance to them.
Any other questions? All in favor? Oh, no. Yeah. Bylaws, various land use bylaw amendments, reporter? Planner?
Concerns you have, feel free to bring them forward to
Thank
me.
you, and I've just got a quick
and,
presentation.
Or whoever your assigned planner is, and we'll try and make the best that we can. I recognize that's
Okay, and is that coming up okay for you all?
An echo coming in.
Share with me, but
Yeah, sorry, I'm just at my
Same time,
keyboard,
what we can do is-
unfortunately.
And then we're hearing something else in the background there. There we go. That's
And you can see my presentation, okay?
You can work with us to do that.
Yeah, we're still hearing somebody talking in the background, Shannon.
No problem.
Yeah. I apologize. I'm hoping that I will be able to get a presentation where there's not too much background noise.
Bye-bye.
So, is audio coming through okay now?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
Perfect. Okay. So I just wanted to give a quick overview again, since I recognize that council hasn't seen this item since January. But as you may recall, through our day-to-day work, we have identified various issues with the town's land use bylaws, which would necessitate bylaw amendments. So at its meeting of January 27th, 2026, staff had provided an overview of potential bylaw amendments to address those issues that we had identified, and council ultimately ended up initiating OCP amendment bylaw number 1375.11 and zoning amendment bylaw number 1395.12. So just looking at OCP amendment bylaw number 1375.11, this largely proposes changes to the town's OCP bylaw as it relates to development permit areas. So as it pertains specifically to the riparian development permit area, this amendment bylaw proposes changes to the exemption criteria for this type of development permit. Specifically, new exemption criteria is being proposed to be added, and this would include, but isn't limited to, circumstances wherein development has received authorizations under Section 11 of the Water Sustainability Act, and where a riparian development permit has previously been issued, and that the new development remains consistent with that previous permit. Additionally, the bylaw would clarify existing criteria such as those pertaining to boundary adjustments and undertaking of emergency works. And lastly, the bylaw would delete certain exemptions which are seen to be redundant, just because those exemptions are already being provided for under other federal or provincial legislation, or for works that wouldn't otherwise be triggering the need for a development permit anyways. And an example of that would be interior renovations within an existing building. This amendment bylaw also proposes amendments to correct the land use designation and various development permit area map schedules within the OCP bylaw in order to reflect previous council direction. Specifically, we had noted that the current map schedules don't reflect the prior adoption of amendment bylaw numbers 1375.03 and 1375.06, both of which were adopted by council back in 2024. And as a quick reminder, bylaw number 1375.03 related to a bylaw amendment application at 5801 Oleander Drive, and bylaw number 1375.06 related to the zoning bylaw update, which largely addressed development permit area designations that had applied to the comprehensive development zones. So the changes that we are proposing would be to revise those map schedules to reflect the previous council direction. Now, with respect to zoning amendment bylaw number 1395.12, this amendment bylaw proposes various textual amendments to the zoning bylaw pertaining to permitted uses within the industrial or the general industrial zone and vehicle parking regulations. So with respect to the general industrial zone, this amendment bylaw proposes to introduce alcohol production facility as a permitted principal use within the general industrial zone on the basis that craft brewery and distillery had actually been added as a permitted use within the former general industrial zone under former zoning bylaw number 1085. And this was introduced by bylaw amendment back in 2019, but unfortunately was not carried over in the new zoning bylaw. Now, with respect to vehicle parking space regulations, the zoning amendment bylaw seeks to amend the regulations pertaining to dimensions of parking spaces and aisle width by bringing these requirements more closely in line with what we would see in the town of Oliver. So this would allow for sub-regional consistency in parking dimension regulations. In general, the amendments being proposed would represent a reduction in required parking space dimension and aisle width requirements. I did want to provide just a follow-up because we did note that at the last committee meeting, a concern was raised regarding whether the proposed parking space dimensions would be able to accommodate larger vehicles like larger pickup trucks, which you would typically see towing boats during the summer months. So in further reviewing the proposed regulations, we did note that the proposed stall depth requirements, which would range from 5.1 meters to 6.1 meters, depending on parking angle, may not be able to accommodate the full length of some mid to full size trucks. So just as some examples, I did a little bit of background research on this. I'm not really a truck person, but I learned a lot. A 2026 Toyota Tacoma, being a mid-size truck, can range from 5.4 meters to 5.4 meters to 5.7 meters in overall length. And this would depend on the exact model. And a 2026 Ford F-150, being a full-size truck, can range from 5.3 meters to 6.2 meters in overall length, again, depending on what model someone would have. So while we do recognize that the bylaw would establish minimum parking requirements, it is noted that council may wish to retain the current parking regulations given that previously identified concern with the ability of the proposed parking space dimensions to actually accommodate larger vehicles. So we are seeking council's direction today with respect to these amendment bylaws. While we are recommending to give first and second reading on the basis of previous council direction with respect to the initiation of the bylaws in their current form, if council does wish to retain the existing parking regulations to address some of those concerns that had come up, a third option, well, first of all, the second option would be to deny these bylaws, but third option would be to defer consideration of the bylaws and direct staff to return to the committee of the whole in order to provide alternative options. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions? Councilor Patrica?
Oh, thank you, Ken. Councilor King. Through you, Ms. Wong, just a question with regards to, I think this is regards to 1375. Let me just find Schedule D in the maps attached. I just think there's just an error with regards to the upper arrow where it's actually locating on the town map. It looks like it's referencing the north end of the town boundary where I believe it should be somewhere along Lakeshore Drive.
I'm just pulling that up on my end. Yes, that might have just been an error in potentially conversion of the document.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Option one is that the Town of Osoyoos Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw 1375.11 2026 and the Town of Osoyoos Zoning Amendment Bylaw 1395.12 2026 be read first and second time and proceed to public hearing, and that council considers the process as outlined in this report from the Chief Administrative Officer dated March 24, 2026 to be appropriate consultation for purposes of Section 475 of the Local Government Act, and that in accordance with Section 477 of the Local Government Act, council has considered amendment by law number 1375.11 2026 in conjunction with its financial and applicable waste management plans, and that the holdings of public hearing be scheduled for the regular open council meeting April 14, 2026 and the staff give notice of the public hearing in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act. All in favor? Oh, question? Okay.
Really, I have concerns with the parking space, so that would be 139512. The rest I feel are perfectly fine. Can I move option 1 but strike 139512?
Shannon, what would be easier? Would it be easier for you if we refer the entire matter to a committee of the whole and sort out the issue of the parking dimensions and then bring it back for the public hearing, or would it be fairly easy for you to strip that piece out?
It would be fairly easy to strip that piece out. I would say if the matter were to be deferred to committee, both amendment bylaws should be deferred to committee, and council may wish to not give readings at this particular moment for either amendment bylaw.
So Councillor Chung, would you like make a motion to that effect, that it goes back to Council of the Whole, Committee of the Whole?
Yes.
Okay, so
Do we have a seconder?
So remember that we defer it to committee of the whole?
Yeah, yeah,
I'll second that.
okay.
okay, so
Well,
so it would read very similarly to option number 2, except it would be, rather than denied, to refer it to the committee of the whole for further discussion regarding the matter of parking space dimensions.
Thank you.
just more so an additional comment. I mean, we're obviously a resort municipality and a very well trafficked lake with trucks that tow the said trailers. The last thing we need is to have parking stalls that will not fit those cars. So I think we need a bit more consideration before we start, before we go to first and second reading. So, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you,
Further.
Councillor King. Just of course, adding this for the comment, obviously in agreement with Councillor Chung on this. Not only that, I think recognizing too, and I know I've said this in the past when it was brought forward, was we have a fairly well-established snowbird population that either are come to us from the prairies and either we're farmers or are farmers, and they still like to have their big trucks as well. And I know it's some developments over the past, it's a little tighter fit, so I'd support us looking forward at that. Those parking requirements, especially keep in mind that we have larger vehicles, not only just towing boats, but we just seem to have a larger appetite, I guess, for welcoming larger vehicles in the community.
Okay, there's Councillor Bennett?
I think you might want to amend it up there to snowbirds instead of snowboards.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? None? Thank you very much. Next item, is you going to make a report again?
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to report on behalf of the CAO. In the community services area, the request for proposal for a Desert Sunrise Marina closes on March 27th. Rick Hansen grant was submitted on March 14th for an
I got there's another report on here.
oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, we have just the motion from the committee of the whole this morning.
Right?
And so we just need a motion. We're redoing the motion so that it is complete. So
Are there the expense reports as well?
they come after that. Yeah. So right now we have the report of committees and committee of the whole. So we are just going to need a motion on the motion that we did in this morning. So that's what we need first.
Read that again? Thanks.
Yes, please, if you could read the the second part, that the following property.
Following properties be included as part of the application for the ALR or ALC to exclude non-agricultural parcels from the agricultural land reserve that was initiated by council on December 9th, 2025. Lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, district lot 254 OS plan KAP 28375 being 5, 6/8, 7, 9, 10, and 11 Wren Place. Lot 3, District Lot 2450S, Plan KAP 21683, being 6806 97th Street. And approximately 0.9 hectare portion of the property described as Lot 1, District Lot 2450S, Plan EPP 128166, being 9425 87th Street, immediately adjacent to Osoyoos Lake and Broadburn Place. And that staff gives notice of this revised application in accordance with 29(2)A of the Agriculture Land Commission Act and S15 of the Agriculture Land Reserve General Regulation, and that staff give notice of April 28th public hearing in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act. Puerto Rico, Chung, all in favor? New business council reports for Mayor McCordoff and Councilor Puerto Rico that expenses for Mayor McCordoff in the amount of 100 and Councilor Puerto Rico in the amount of 300 be approved. Councilor Bennett, I'll second it. Thank you. Okay, now we can go into the CO report. All in favor, sir? All in favor?
Thank you. I'll continue with community services now. The volunteer appreciation luncheon has been scheduled for May 29th. That's done annually. Desert Park Ball Field will get the backstops leveled out and ready for play before the season starts. In corporate and planning departments, the accessibility survey at osoyoos.ca closed on March 17th. The responses indicate that we have room to improve accessibility in the town and should prioritize sidewalks and paths. The next survey is on electric kick scooters, and just a reminder that the RCMP are providing a session on scooters at Sonora on March 30th at 6 p.m. Our Facebook had 9,000 views since the last report, and the website views since the last report have been approximately 5,000. New business licenses have been issued for Lisa Calder Counseling. It's an additional location, and for the Heritage Health Connections business. The building inspector has issued another stop work order for a tourist commercial property that initiated work without a permit. In the financial services area, financial staff are now ready for the internal audit. Just a reminder that the 2026 Q1 utility billing due date is March 31st. And an update that most meters are now installed and the finance staff is receiving and monitoring water usage data from the meters. In the fire department, the competition to fill the Fire Smart coordinator position is now open. This position will work from the Osoyoos Fire Hall and is anticipated to begin with the department mid to late April. Fire Smart engagement planning has begun with the first information booth planned for the Osoyoos Farmers Market in early May. And finally, in operational services, staff met with contractors on site March 17th to discuss repairs to the boat launch at the marina to look at the removal of additional debris mounted up from boats being power loaded. This is potentially causing delays in the permanent repair. That is something we do want to highlight, that power loading does damage the boat launch. Irrigation season is starting on April 15th as usual. Odor control pumps were turned on Wednesday, March 18th after a baseline of data was collected to monitor any changes in the oxygen levels. The temporary labor position in Public Works were posted and have now closed, and we're now looking at applicants for summer students positions. And finally, the 89th Street reconstruction project was awarded to Twin Con Enterprises in the amount of $5,043,125, including taxes.
Get someone to move the report. Councilor Chung, Councilor Puerto Rico, all in favor? Thank you. Council reports, Councillor Chung.
Thank you. Attended the South Okanagan Chamber of Commerce AGM March 28th, and just wanted to welcome their new executive director, Christina Brown. Lots of experience with Chamber of Commerce with, I believe, the Tri-Cities area. So have a scheduled meeting with her next week to kind of chat about what we've been kind of working on together. Aside from that, looking forward to the first golf tournament on Saturday. So thank you to Ops and also all the staff at the CS Golf Course for bringing the course up to great conditions. So that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Puerto Rico.
Thank you, Councillor King. Nothing to report this week.
Councillor Bennett.
Nothing to report this week, Mayor King.
Thanks very much. I also have nothing to report at this time. So we'll go into in camera that pursuant to section 90-1 of the community charter, a part of the council meeting be closed to the public and the subject matter being considered relates to one of the more of the following. Section 91I, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And section 91J, information is prohibited or information that if we presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protective Agency Act 21(1)(a)(2), commercial, financial, labor relations, scientific or technical information, or a third party. 1, 2. Thank you.